Hi, my name is Shirley Scott. I'm an animal communicator and a clairvoyant. We are hosting a forum for discussion with working professionals and independent energy healers, each of them living and working a life of service to the world. During each program, we intend to bring you many glimpses and in-depth conversations from the world of frequently misunderstood phenomena to increasingly mainstream concepts. As it turns out, the paranormal is way more normal than we ever thought. It is our intention that we bring you knowledge you need when you need it. I believe in this life and the next. We are all in this together. Life is as bright as we make it. The producers, myself, and our guests ask that you watch with an open mind. Nearly 20 years ago, when I started my spiritual journey, I wished for a program like this, and now I've been guided to help create it and share it with you. Hello, everybody. Today we are interviewing James Smith, who is a tarot card reader, and we are going to find out what he does and how he reads cards and what the cards tell him, how he learned it, how long he's been doing it. James, welcome.
Thank you.
So, James, we're going to start out by asking you, how long have you been doing tarot card readings?
Oh, since a child. My mother got me started, and she's had her card set. In fact, she still has the same card set. But only recently had I really started taking it seriously. I'd say within the last 12 years or so.
Okay, so so your mother reads cards.
Mm-hmm.
So you got it from her?
Yeah. In fact, I took off with it way more than she did. She's had a lot of spiritual, metaphysical books, and she would play around with the cards, and she'd had a few books to study off of. But I mean, as a kid growing up in Florida, it can get kind of boring. So that's how I latched on to that. I said, well, this is interesting, and just kept playing with them throughout my life.
Okay, so did you use them when you were a child to kind of see where you were during the day or in your life, or?
I was a snoop. I was snooping up on people most of the time. Yes.
So you would think of that person and then draw a card and see.
Exactly. I would be pulling. I'd be scrying different people I met, new people I met, strangers, and only about probably my closest friends knew that I did it. And it would always freak them out because they're like, that's exactly what is going on. So, yeah, it was an ongoing process.
All right.
Slowly getting more serious.
Okay, so then about 12 years ago you decided to read people or do it?
Yeah, do it as service.
Okay.
From a service oriented.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, so do you use, now I know there are tarot card readers. Do you use tarot or tarot? How do you say it? Does it matter?
I usually use the word cards more often, but tarot works.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a reason for the dialect, but I haven't come across that yet.
Okay. Now I know a lot of card readers. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they use like 5 or 6 decks, or they'll.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
From my personal take, I have 2 decks.
Okay.
And only reason is if I shear off a corner or one gets seriously stained, is unrecoverable, I'll steal from the other deck and put it into my old deck. I like to keep it as like a generational deck. Uh-huh. And the deck I have right now is as old as I've been taking it seriously for 12 years.
Wow.
So it's very nice, very warm, very worn, but it's got some replacements in it. Some card readers that I do know that they use other decks for different perspectives. Certain oracle cards, there's less of them, so they can get straight to the point with less of a size of a spread, 1 or 2 cards, versus 10 cards for a Celtic cross spread, which is what I do. Okay. Celtic cross spread. Can you kind of go into that for the viewers and let them know what that entails or what that means? Yes, Celtic Cross is the most used spread in tarot, as far as I know. There are many other spreads, many other diagrams where you will set out cards in a certain specific pattern. Each position represents a certain aspect of the problem or the querent's life. The person that you're asking about is typically called the querent. So the Celtic Cross pretty much is a full-on scan of the energy around that person, around that situation that needs to be divined. And sometimes a smaller spread is all that's needed for smaller questions and getting to the point. But for most people who don't really know what they want to read about, a larger spread can be done. And there's also larger spreads, even up to 15 cards, that people can put down to read their spiritual development.
Okay. So the spread that you use really goes from a person's past and then present and then future.
Yes, past, present, future. Typically, it will also read what's on their minds, their conscious, their subconscious, the sources of their mental challenges. And it can also read the actual energy around them, around their friends, and the actual, sometimes they will offer advice in certain positions.
The cards will.
Yes, but pretty much in every spread that I know, there is an outcome card at the end, which is telling you where all this is heading.
Okay.
So that the person can either change the way they're thinking or change the way they're dealing with it if it's something that does not appeal to them.
Okay. So this is, when you do a reading, about how long does a reading last?
At shortest, a week. At longest, I've seen it take 3 months. For a reading to completely translate over.
Okay, so but when a person is sitting in front of you and you're doing the spread, how long does that take?
That average 20, 30 minutes.
20 to 30 minutes.
I can squeeze it down to 15 if I hit the basic points.
Okay.
But I really don't like to rush folks.
Sure.
I really do not.
Yeah, because you need to explain what each card is saying, what each card means, so that they understand it.
And you have to rapport with that person too, and make sure that it is sinking in,
right,
as well as you can possibly present it. Okay. And that's all the challenge, is actually getting it across.
Making sure that they understand what the cards mean. Now, when you say the cards tell you. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Do you get messages from, say, spirit guides or angels, or is it the cards itself, the meaning of the position where the card is?
Yes. All of the above. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Recently, it has been all of the above. I have to think that anyone who works with a device earnestly and is actually using it for a service will see that increase.
Okay.
It used to be when I was a child that I would see, strange things around people who had very, very strong feelings. Their auras would flare around their head.
Okay.
But I mean, as I kind of grew into adolescence, that fell away. Thank you, public school system. And as that developed and I went into more serious life, it was more of an intellectual thing. I know this card means this, and in this position, it could. So it was a creative channel. Okay. But the recent developments, it just opened up much, much more as my spirituality changed, and as my spirituality grew into a more service-oriented channel, it just exploded. So. That's just how that went.
And so when you say that you're, and I know this, in spiritual growth, what we believe last week we might learn is something new next week,
yes.
Because in spirit, it's always changing. It changes with the times. A lot of times in religion, it doesn't change. It's a set in stone thing, and it's always that way. Where in spirituality, I find, it's like, wow, that's a new, that's a new belief, or that's a new system, or that's something new that spirit is telling us is changing now, because the energies are always changing. Right?
Yes. Yeah. It's a churning ocean of perspective.
And when you do a reading, when I do a psychic reading, I tell people, this is what I see, but you can change that.
Yes.
By changing your mind, your life, your choices. because, God gave us free will, and that's the hugest part of the whole, human race that we don't understand.
Yes.
And do you tell them, okay, this is what we see, and if you don't like what's coming,
Mm-hmm.
you have a choice to change that?
Yes, that is always prefaced.
Okay.
And I mean, if I know the person, and this is a big issue for a lot of younger people, is that their anxiety about things, especially about the future, is pretty big, especially nowadays.
Okay.
And I say that you could have a really good result if you trust yourself to keep it, on the level, keep it relaxed, keep it on the normal, because I have literally seen people push themselves out of a good state being so anxiety ridden about the future and the past.
Ah.
And I find that to be a big anchor for, well, I mean, there are older people too, but the younger folk, most especially, even in my peer group, I'm around 30 years old, anxiety is a big issue.
Okay.
And that's kind of where the spirituality for me kicked that out.
Right.
For my benefit. So if there's something that I've learned, I pass that on right away.
Okay, yeah, because when you step into your spirituality and you step into it, whether you're being of service or whether it's for you, you find out that, if you live in the present moment, you don't have to worry about the future, because it's just going to come.
It's right there.
It's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So when people come to you, what are some of the biggest questions or the most common questions that they want answered?
Ooh. Well, recently it's, why is everything screwed up?
Did you tell them because it's human?
Yeah, I said it's human. Also, Mercury is in retrograde.
Okay.
And that'll be over very soon, thank God.
Now, see, I was born when Mercury was in retrograde, so an astrologer told me it never phases you because you were already born that
and
way.
it can be, and that's the case. But I find that even in the New Age circles, you can have opinions and sacred cows and things that always are the way they are. If you're going to program a bunch of people to say, hey, everything this week's going to screw up, it's going to happen.
Okay, yes.
But I see that yin-yang works in the positive for a lot of people. For example, the only time I've seen, for instance, I had a client that actually has been looking for a job for a very long time. I'm talking years.
Okay.
And only within this period of retrograde was it their job lost them to a better company. And for him, it was a much better result. It says anything that retrograde could represent, if anything, is a shaking up.
Right.
Of plans. Every plan you make, they say, man plans and God laughs.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. And we also want to talk to the people. We had an interview with a medical intuitive healer yesterday, and she mentioned God and how God is part of hers. And and you mentioned God, and a lot of people think that if you are a tarot card reader or you're spiritual or something, God is out of the picture for some reason. I know people have asked me, do you believe in God? It's like, well, yeah, that's everything. That's everything. So I'm glad you're bringing that up.
Yes.
Because tarot card readers have been around for ever, haven't they? I mean,
yeah. The actual origin story of the tarot has a few, well, I don't say contradictions, but there's a rich possibility list here.
Okay.
The most popular is that they came from a deck from Egypt, and that's where the playing card deck came from too. But the Egyptian deck had like 80, 90 different scries or glyphs on it.
Okay.
It was eventually, through Victorian times, developed into a symbolic or hermetic thing. And along with other divination tools, it was, easy to carry around, easy not to scuff and break like your crystal balls and, any other things out there, like tea leaf reading or any other divination throughout the world. There are just so many different flavors.
Right.
But the cards are quite old, and I'd have to say that their popularity within the past 100 years as a staple is about as young as it gets.
Okay. All right. And when you say you like your one deck, do do you feel that deck has your energy in it, or energies that help you read it?
Yes.
Okay, can you maybe explain that a little bit? Because I know the tarot card readers that I know, they like their cards because they say there are energies in them.
Yes.
And it helps them read.
It does. I have packed many hours into that deck. Not just with clients, which is where I learn the most, but just myself practicing over and over, looking at them, making sure they're in order, out of order. You know, as long as you interact with a thing, they will absorb your attention. Where energy goes, where your attention goes, at least in my experience.
I agree.
So when you have the attention of so many different people on the cards, they absorb all of it, especially from myself and the client, and any passersby. And the thing is that it's that deck, that card deck, and I mean they have lasted longer, and they have literally, persevered where so many other of my newer decks have just either gone missing, went out a window, caught on fire for no reason, stuff like that. It's like the cherished thing, so I can only blame that energy, that mix. And of course, I do say a prayer over my cards pretty much over before every session.
Okay.
And it's just a simple little prayer I came up with.
Okay.
A very simple one, very idyllic. But the idea is from service to service for the person's wisdom and healing. And for the most part, if anything were to imbue any object with positive energy, that would be it. Especially if you do it repeatedly.
Right. Yes, and I love going into that energy part of it because the positive energy you put out, of course, can go into anything, or the negative energy that you put out. And people don't seem to understand that, and that's why we absolutely need to have positive thought, because that will help you through any situation, anywhere you go. And prayer, we have it's almost like everybody in spirituality that I talk to will say they pray or they give thanks, and they're in service to service. And that is something I think the public doesn't understand. A lot of times they say, oh, you're a reader and you're doing this for money. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you get that too.
Yeah.
Where what we want to get across to people is we do it in service. And money is energy in, energy out, just like if we charged you apples or oranges or anything else.
A breath has to be in and out.
Right. And so when you're in service, that is a positive attitude that you are putting out there, that you are helping people, that you're there to help them, not to run their life, but to give them guidance. And I love the fact that you mentioned prayer too.
Oh yes, yeah,
because that's a big part.
It is essential.
Okay.
You have to keep the dialogue going with everything, with the infinite. But I mean, it's just energy is such an intelligent force. It will literally obey every good or bad command you give it. So you should pile on the positive stuff as much as possible.
And you tell your clients that too.
Oh yeah. Well, I can tell them that. If they hear it, that's up to them. But I repeatedly, it's a broken record.
Right.
Has to be.
And do you find it, now I do find it hard, I'll say you have to people, you really need to be positive, and they'll go, yeah, but, and right? And I'll say, but okay, you need to take that completely out of your vocabulary. Yeah, but needs to come out.
Yes.
Because most people would go, yeah, but what if this doesn't work? Instead of saying, oh yeah, but it's going to work. There, and we humans look at things on the negative side probably 90% of the time.
Because it's so safe. It's so safe for them.
There you go.
It's like, I know it's going to go wrong, so I'm right about it, so I'm safe about it, and that way I'm right. Well, do you want to be right in life, or do you want to be happy? I mean, I'd be happy and wrong all day.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I am with mine. It's not the right or wrong.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you do actually shift to a positive paradigm, and you actually do shift, like find out that, hey, it takes just as much energy to condemn everything as it takes to make it happy and positive and possibility filled, then you start to notice stuff starts to sway that way. It will do it. I mean, a lot of people I've had to work with simply made that choice, and things just went so much easier.
Right.
But in retrospect to everything, I think that might be the largest and smallest boulder in anyone's development to deal with.
Is that yeah? And I like to tell my clients it's almost like a frown or a smile.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more energy to frown
Yeah.
than it does to smile.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a positive or negative, you really need to take that positive energy, because it really takes less energy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So about how many readings do you do, say a month or a year? Or,
A month?
yeah. Oh, and can you do them over the phone?
Yeah, I can. I do prefer in person. I have a bit of a hearing thing.
Okay.
I have to be near a person to get the rapport. In fact, as far as my intuition has grown, I've been able to do more foreign-speaking clients face-to-face.
Okay.
Because I can pull their intention out of
Okay.
their words. But over the phone works as long as it's not too long, because I hate going, what was that? I'm sorry. It's like I have old man ears, but if I'm present with them, it works. Text over the internet has been the majority of my business lately.
Oh, okay.
As I like finding people in town, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
most of the people I've known, there are folks in Florida and people where I've traveled that I've met that just, they don't follow me everywhere. They're just at home where they are in the world. And I'd say it could be anywhere from as little as 4 people a month to as many as 14 to 25.
Okay.
It has gotten very, very busy.
So when you do it over text,
Mm-hmm.
do they just text you a question and you tap into their energy? You ask the cards. Kind of explain that to our viewers so that they can get an idea of what that
Yeah,
happens.
I do get that question a lot. The most recent one was a gentleman in Qatar, or however you spell that Middle Eastern country, and he asked, I've never really done it over the internet before. How do you do it over text? I'd like to think that we have a massive communion, at least in the unconscious. I'm a very big fan of Carl Jung. And Carl Jung believes in a large, massive subconscious mind that we all share, or at least can share. I also like to think that along the works of Dr. Pearsall, who studied the human heart, because he was a heart transplant, more of a psychologist, but he was involved in the transplant process, that our hearts have a modality that communicate to one another, even if it's over miles of distance. It is a network. I don't think we are separated just because we're interpreting symbols on screen. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, and it does work.
Okay.
Readings do work. However, as long as you keep the target in mind and their service in mind, it eeps out just as normally as a normal reading would, face to face.
Okay. When I do a reading, I tell people a lot of mine is telepathy, of course, because it's energy and there is no boundaries. It's like electricity. There's no boundaries. So when somebody is texting you, or I get readings over email all the time, and you just tap into that. Some people go, well, how do you do that? It's kind of a natural thing because it just kind of comes. It's like turning the light on, I feel. And so it's very interesting that you can do that over, the internet too. And then you just do a spread for them.
Yeah, I do the spread,
Okay.
and I just type it out like a story. The whole interpretation,
okay.
how I feel it, PDF it, send it right back. And the thing is, they like to have the text there to hold on to, and that they don't have to keep asking me questions about, what was that again? Because it's all there,
right,
for them to read, and they have a hold on to that. And also, there are markers in the actual reading for things that have occurred, so they'll know, like, once it's used up, it's used up.
So give me an example of that.
That it's used up?
Yeah.
I'll say, let me see. There's kind of a fork in the road for this person from Qatar. He could either completely drop the job and everything he hated and go off in a direction that at least he thought he liked.
Okay.
Or he could stick with it to the point where it will break. And, I mean, it was literally, I think, last night where he said, I think it broke.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to be doing that one next week.
Okay.
But there are, different markers, different situations in life where they will literally describe it to you that that's your outcome. That's where you're at the end of this reading. And it's pretty hard to misunderstand. At least to the point where things can change completely different from that setting anyway, to know that that's not a possibility anymore.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like, if you say to them, you are going to be losing your job, and you can either lose it now, or you can wait until
Yes.
it's really bad and lose it then.
Yes.
And that's those markers. Okay. Why don't you tell us one of your favorite stories about a client, or a client that is maybe, got some problems, or, something fun that goes on.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man, if she watches this, I have to say the most archetypal client in romance. And I don't want to say that she's just like a copy of everyone's problems. It's like she's hit every single dilemma that you would find in a romantic comedy possible. I met her actually here in Walla Walla, and I've kept her for at least, I think it's been 3 years now at least. And we're good friends by now, but she started at she had recently lost her mother. And she was in so many personal problems with her romantic life. She didn't know which way end up was right. And I mean, she had experience dating, etc. And she wasn't necessarily someone that you'd call, a wallflower. She's a very active, very forward person. And it was literally the exact same relationship. Every reading was almost, at least I have to say 7 readings,
Wow.
were different cards saying the same damn thing to her. Is to slow down, find out what you like first, because you'll be really surprised. People will list out what they want in a car more than they want in a prospective mate. I mean, you know exactly what you want in a new car, but you're dating somebody. Oh, he has a nice smile and he likes me. Not to mention, he likes, taxidermy and cutting off animal heads or something. It really bothers me. He's a little violent. Well, maybe you should critically analyze that. Make it not make them feel little or belittled, but call attention to things that may be trouble. And the thing is, she's always rushing from one thing to the next, and literally she would not slow down. Well, it took 3 years as she slowed down to the point where she was actually questioning her spirituality. The cards responded. They changed. They said, this is very important. Follow this path to your spirituality. She did the pilgrimage of St. James in Spain.
Oh,
and actually walked that whole path.
Wow.
And she met someone on the path. So literally, from that germination, spirituality and her being settled with herself, all of her losses, and I'm telling you, the cards pointed every single signpost along the way, that she reached that point of where she's actually with this person in Spain. Figuring out how not to be so dangerous and rambunctious. She's actually settling down, thank God. And that's a new lesson for her. So right now it's all about learning how not to be so defensive and slowing down and taking things easier. And it's been a long process, but I'll tell you, it was harrowing.
Well, what I like about that story is the cards were very consistent for a long time. And and that shows you that the cards, if you're not learning the lesson or you're not doing it, the cards are going to come back and say, hello, here it is again. And they may present it in a different way, but it's the same lesson.
Yes.
And we find that in spirituality. If you're out there and you're learning a lesson and you don't get it, guess what? It's going to be presented to you again in a different way until you get it. It may look a little different, but it's the same story over and over and over. And I like the fact that, the used car or the car and the mate, I like that because I get many calls from many people that say, is this the right mate for me? And the first question I ask them is, well, how do you feel about it? I mean,
don't
know. Yeah, they need to know. Is the hair on the back of your neck going up just a little bit about some things? Those are warning signals. So that's really funny. And people are, most of my clients, a lot of my clients are like, they want a mate.
Yes.
Everybody's looking for that perfect love.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. It's like, they don't know what that is. They're like,
they don't.
Oh, that's a person in the house that does the dishes. There's a machine for that.
Yes, the perfect love. And I think we're looking for that perfect love because, through my near-death experience in 2000, I got to experience the love on the other side.
Yes.
When I was watching the paramedics work on my body, and I was in that great cloud of love and happiness, and there was no anxiety. And I knew I was dying, but it was like, wow, this is real interesting. I think when we are on the other side and we incarnate over here, we start looking for that love immediately.
Yes.
And it's something that we can't, as humans, really experience in this third dimension.
No, and that's the thing is the blinders that we agree to when we come through. And I have to ask you about that, the near-death experience.
Okay.
If you think, back to the blinders thing though, as we come through and we have those blinders on, I think society literally jumps at the chance to program it in. What the ideal is supposed to be,
right,
is versus, well, the ideal is the ideal, and what you think, or if you even thought of it, that's the first thing. If you even thought of this, I'd be surprised. Because it's put in our face in a consumer culture that love is getting stuff and having stuff, getting people, having people. It's not how it works. And I think that's where most of the malfunction comes from, is it's a lot of having and possessing of
yes.
people.
Yes.
It doesn't work. It never works. And frankly, the cards will tell you that. But my question to you was, do you think that near-death experiences, especially for a certain group or generation of people, do you think that they're, I don't want to say needed, or maybe more common for someone who switches it around towards a more spiritual thing?
Oh, I think, definitely. And my near-death experience was, of course, a life changer. It was meant to be. It was meant to say, hey, wake up. You're not living the life you're supposed to live. And I got that validated through the Edgar Cayce Foundation.
Yeah.
Okay. They did my astrology chart afterwards. And it came out that, you know what, you're supposed to be a psychic this lifetime. So, hello, wake up. And so, I do think that. And I do think that we need people to have those near-death to get across to people that this is life and then there's life.
Yes.
Okay? I like to call it life after life, not not
Yes.
anything. Because,
That's exactly what it is.
It's a dimensional shift.
Yeah, it's so much. This is going to sound weird to the normal people, but it's like...
That's what we're here for.
I swear to God, it's like... It's laughable that people are afraid of this.
Afraid of death.
It's so laughable.
Yeah, it is.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's funny to me because people in like that last client that I talked about, so afraid of death because it's done nothing but terrorize her entire life. Yeah. She does a dangerous job too, but she doesn't translate the dangerous job as a threat of death to her. Which is weird, because it's like, lady, you have so much, go out, save people mentality, yet you're afraid of not getting it all done, dying, of people dying around you. I mean, do you not see, where your heart is versus where your mind is? Because what she does is completely heart motivated. And, if people have that dichotomy in their life, maybe they should be listening to this sucker a little bit more.
Right.
But, I mean, we have clues in life, and we have clues after, and it's all part of our development. But that life after death thing, the whole death paradigm, even some of those NDE experiences I read about, or some of the people who say they've gone to hell and they asked for salvation and they got it, and I mean, it's all one big ball of experience, even as terrifying as some of them can sound, which is, I'm sure, they love to latch onto in TV shows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That. Yes.
The
they do.
drama, scary.
Drama is, I had some people that wanted to, that approached me and said, we want to do a TV show about you and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had several Skype conversations, and, they asked me what was going on in my life. And finally they came and they said, you know what, we're not going to do it because you don't have enough drama in your life. I said, oh, thank you. I've been working very hard to clear that. And so, so that's why we're doing this show, because, what we want to show people is you don't have to have drama in your life. And drama is not where it's at. It's,
no.
You want to have a stress-free, happy life. Through spirit, you can do that. And through knowing that death is just another translation or transition.
It's funny. It's like, the word transition, I think, scares people.
You might be right.
I think it does. I think the best way to put death is the easiest thing you'll ever do, on purpose or on accident, ever. It's so... I don't want to scare anybody, but it really is misunderstood.
It is.
It's misunderstood. The transition is misunderstood. It's not like, oh, I have to bring all my furniture with me. It's a transition.
Exactly.
Where are my car keys? It's a transition.
Okay.
But yes.
So, yeah, and I think that stems back too from judgment. And I tell people, when I talk to people on the other side, there's no judgment. No. Well, God says
it's
you guys do it.
Concept.
You guys do it enough when you're on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to do it when you're over here.
No, there's no barrier.
Yeah, and the cards come through with that too. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, the intuition.
Oh, and I know what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
People, they'll ask me. They'll say the death card came up in a reading, and I have to laugh because it's like, so what did the reader tell you?
The irony. Oh Lord, the irony. You know what card? You know what word I use to define that card?
What?
It's a transition.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So
take your furniture with you.
Take your keys, get the stuff that matters, and just transition to that next door. Because one's shutting right in your face here.
Right.
Don't get all freaked out.
Right.
But
the death card really means, listen, part of this is going away, and it's really an opportunity.
Oh yeah,
it's an opportunity, and that's what people. I think that's death scares people so much that when the the little skeleton card comes up, they're like, oh my gosh, So if we can help people understand that death is nothing more than natural.
Yeah.
And that we have so many choices between this incarnation and when we leave again and when we come back again.
Oh, it's boggling. It's so boggling. Really is. It is literally about what do you want to work on versus what do you think you can work on in a second. What do you want to become?
Right.
It's such a huge palette of possibilities. It's mind-numbing. But that's the thing, though, is it's not about expanding past what you're doing right now, because what you're doing right now is obviously very important to you somewhere up there. The idea of the cards is that they will go back and they will represent to you what's important right now to get you stuck on your path. Okay. You have a path in mind. It's not the plan, but it's a plan. And it can go off in any weird, crazy directions. It's all good. You can make 1 billion mistakes and still end up in the promised land. In fact, a lot of people have planned it that way. Yes. Especially, they literally, I want to pick the most closed-minded, dumbest route to the right place I can possibly get. So they come to Earth. And they go through this really tough camping trip for about 70, 80 years. And if they're really good at keeping the body going, maybe 100, 120. And then they can tell everybody it's smoking, red wine, grease in the morning for breakfast. Stuff like that to contradict all the doctors. And that's the thing is we have such a way to make fun of it, of how bad it is here. You just have to laugh.
You have to laugh.
You have to laugh. You have to keep yourself buoyant, and you have to keep yourself going, because there's a reason you're here, and it really is part of such a larger program.
Exactly. I love people when they say to me, well, life isn't fair. and I look at them and I say, yes, it is, because it's that way for everybody.
Exactly.
And the choices so that they can make. And I think that's why people come to readers, and whether they're cards, whether like psychic readings, because many people already know their path. They know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
They need validation.
Yes. The validation's huge.
Okay.
It is. They need the reassurance. And it's funny, though, because I could pick maybe 6-7 years ago. It was very much about reassurance. But as the translation kind of hit, recently, it seems to be that so many more people are interested in the working of the tarot and how it works with people, and they're actually quite interested in the subject. It's not just shows like this, it's not just people like us, but normal people are getting tapped in the back of the head saying, there's something you can do, there are sources out there.
And I do think that the spiritual movement is opening, as far as, back in the 1920s and stuff, there were a lot of fragile people.
Oh, yeah.
And when somebody went to a psychic, they had wires strung. And,
oh, yeah.
And I think it got a really bad name. For a long time, I didn't want to be known as a psychic. I wanted to be a clairvoyant, because psychics have such a bad...
You have that. It is a sticky name.
It's a sticky name.
You want to be like the executive psychic, the clairvoyant, What's the other one that they use a lot so much? They use it so much it makes me intuitive.
Intuitive.
And that word is like, okay, what's a word that I can stick on a business card that looks better? Intuitive.
But we all are intuitive.
Oh yeah, we all are. That's the thing. It's like saying smeller.
I like that, yeah, because we're all intuitive, and we want to get that across to people. People who say, "Well, you're psychic," and I go, "Yeah, but when Uncle Fred thinks about you long enough, he either calls or you call him.
Yes,
that means that you're getting it. You're intuitive, because I believe, like you do, we're all connected.
Oh yeah,
we're all connected, and somebody over in China can be thinking of inventing a product, the same product that somebody here is thinking of. So people, I think, are starting to get this energy flow. It's an energy thing, and if it works in one area, then it has to work in the other, because of the way the Earth works altogether anyway. So it's a matter of you can't split hairs like that.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
We're so good at making boundaries anyway. Why make more?
Oh, yeah. Yes, we are.
We're so good at that.
And James, tell people where they can get hold of you, how they can get hold of you, if they would like to talk to you, find out more information, have a reading. Where can they do that?
My Facebook page is Readings and Company. It's fairly straightforward. You'll find my mug on it, and either post there or just send me a PM. Also, I do referrals through my other clients, so. The idea is if you want to just get in touch with me and ask me a question, send it there, and I'll give you my personal email if you need it.
Readings and Company on Facebook. Okay, great. That's a great thing. We have a lot of metaphysical stores and spiritual stores, and when I walk through them, there's 100 different kinds of decks of cards. Okay, how do you know what one you might want to use? How do you know which one's for what area, and what kind of deck do you use?
I use the one my mother used, but not for the reasons. That's just because she used it, I used it. I use the Rider-Waite deck, and a lot of them are printed using this really ugly 4-color process.
Okay.
There are digitally retouched cards that look nicer out there, and those are the ones I got. I think they started printing them in '97. They haven't stopped printing them. Okay. So they come with a little, it's a card deck with a book. I'll tell you, if any book was written about the bare minimums to knowing anything about the tarot, that's the book it comes with.
Okay.
Black says tarot, there's a magician on it. Everything that you didn't need to know about the tarot underneath there somewhere. But that symbology has been with me the whole time. When it was kind of apparent to me that I needed to take this seriously, I did look for a new deck, and the sucker fell off the shelf and hit me.
Oh, okay.
So I could only say assault is the way. No, I'm kidding. They just literally landed right in my face, and they said, "These look prettier than Mom's. I'll give them a shot." And I just, kept working with them.
Okay.
The 72 cards in that deck is pretty much the quintessential deck. Any other card that's close to the original deck, close to the original symbology, they say, which would be, I guess, considered Rider Waite, will have 72 cards in it. But there are so many other decks that have less cards. You have Oracle cards. You have...
And what's the big difference? Oracle cards, and, how do you know? I know that, I believe that spirit, when you're walking through, if you pick something up and it's not for you, you'll put it back down.
Yeah, it'll be called, you'll be like,
yeah. But there's, what, like Oracle compared to your deck, what's the difference? Or is there a big difference? Or?
Mechanically, no difference.
Okay.
Mechanically, the cards have a symbology. The cards say a certain theme, energy, story to them.
Okay.
But my cards, for instance, you'll have the major theme cards in the front, and you'll have the 4 suits. And say you have 3 of Cups, which would be in the Rider Waite deck. 3 of Cups is about merriment, coming together with friends, the people who are closest to you, healing, sharing, and providing healing and sharing for you, that circle, not just for you, but from you to everyone else. And then you'll get an Oracle deck card, say with a unicorn on it, that says party time, or be happy, or it's not that bad, or friendship. There is a need to simplify, because, learning the tarot for me, I'm still learning it. I learn it from my clients, I learn it from their situations, I learn that certain cards can mean certain things in different positions, depending on the person you're with, and half the time, I just listen to whoever's squealing at me anyway. Mm-hmm. But the Oracle cards, I feel, are a very simplified, concentrated system to get your feet wet.
Okay.
Get you started with pulling a card and seeing what it might mean for you that day. Because in most cases, if you're just going to get a new card set, you get a little Oracle card set that maybe has 10, 15 cards in it. Mm-hmm. And you shuffle them up and you pull one a day. They'll start to take on a meaning of their own for you. And that's how it starts. That is how the disease spreads, per se. It will start to ingrain itself, and it will mean something to you.
Okay.
And to make the leap from that to a larger deck, to a more refined deck, or any deck you want to use whatsoever. Okay. Other than that, it's an artistic difference.
Okay.
You got fairies, you even have cartoon characters.
So it's kind of, to pick a deck would be more of an individual...
Your style.
Your style.
Definitely your style.
Okay. So, so people can go out there and pick any deck they really want and know that it's fine. Yeah. And if it does, I've got a deck at home that I have used for years, and somebody gave me a deck of cards that was like white cats or something, and I found that it never worked for me. It just didn't, so I passed them on to somebody else who wanted them, because that was not what was working for me. Mine work, and I have medicine cards, and I use some of those. But
yeah, and it's actually kind of a tradition too, apparently, especially in the South, that you shouldn't buy your own deck. It should be gifted to you. It's kind of, well, what if I got like a really crappy deck from somebody? That's what I always question. But yeah, it is kind of the thing. It happens. People think that, oh, this looks pretty, but they don't work.
Yeah.
So of course they get given.
So what you would say to somebody, if you're going to go out and you're going to buy a deck, it doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as it works for you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, if you're not getting the messages, it's probably not for you.
You got it.
Okay. So sometimes, it's clear that a deck isn't working for you. How long should you give it, a week or 2 weeks, or how long should you keep a deck that doesn't seem to be answering your questions that you want?
I find that to be a loaded question because, one, you can have a deck that scares the crap out of you. You want to keep that deck.
Because it's telling you the truth.
Yes. You want to keep that deck because it's telling you the truth. If you have a deck that tells you everything you want to hear, you want to give that deck away. Not to literally be, like a curmudgeon about it, but if it's honest and you're really thinking you're getting a truthful response despite the emotional return, yes, that is the deck you want to keep. If you get absolutely no connection, you're like, they're just a bunch of cards, they don't do anything. Well, if they're not doing anything for you, they're useless. They may do something for someone else. Maybe someone within your circle, probably your best friend, who may be a little bit more into this stuff than you, or maybe the person that got you into it in the first place will probably love that deck.
I've gone to psychic fairs, and I do psychic fairs.
Yes.
And there are card readers there that have like 4 or 5 different decks. And you sit down in front of them, and they look at you, and they go, and they come over here, and they go, I think you need this deck. Okay.
Really?
Should you run? Should you, what is that? Because I have had people say, oh, well, I think you need the angel cards today, or you need the, oracle cards today, or what do you think about that? I mean,
you need the Lee Araby Cold Metal Jacket deck. No. I could see where a certain reader would polarize their instruments. And, I mean, I've seen this with dowsing rods.
Okay.
Dowsing rods can be polarized to seek a certain thing out very well.
Okay.
Lost items, spirit, other things. Cards, I have to believe, are no different. So if they are specialized or especially having certain decks and certain cards, say they believe the angel cards give them a more divine channel.
Okay.
That's their thing. That's their choice. That's how they interact with that energy. And really how they do it, if it seemed funky to me, first I would make sure that it was just, me thinking, oh, that's funky. But if there's a pit in your stomach, like electricity there, and I'm not saying a cold pit, super dread, but I'm saying an honest to God, you're being pushed, like especially in this solar plexus area, that's your boundary chakra screaming at you, telling you, maybe not. Trust your body. Your body has a lot of hints that'll give you. It's also the most psychic antenna you got, especially about yourself and your boundaries. Really, I would sit there and I would watch the show because I'm like that. But if there's any particular deck that sets you off or freaks you out, can't say I've encountered that enough to run. I mean, we have people, there are priestesses and shamans that use innards for this. They cut an animal open and they look at their arranged parts to scry the future. It's not, that's a cultural thing. And it's almost the exact same divination system.
Okay.
Even though it's ancient.
Right.
And messy.
And we don't do it here.
No, I wouldn't do it. Boy, that'd get expensive.
Yeah.
But, even from that, people go to that to get, the answers.
Okay.
And I feel that any one deck really, unless it has been abused beyond contrition and you have a serious feeling to respond to that, listen to yourself.
Right.
And no, because, people They can do weird stuff.
Yes, they can. Well, and I always tell people anyway, listen to what your body is saying. You know, if you go to any reader, it doesn't matter if it's a card reader, psychic reader, and you are not feeling right, when you sit down in front of them and it's almost like they scare you or there's just something that is not right, it's okay to say to them, you know what, I've changed my mind. I might be back later. Or I don't feel comfortable right now.
Yes.
You know, most readers who are in service, who don't have an ego, will say, oh, I completely understand. Please go look around. Obviously, our vibration is not matching.
Yep.
And the reading for me would probably not be that good anyway.
No.
Because, you know, that there's not a match there. That's why I say we need as many card readers, as many psychics and everything as we can get, because there's so many people on this earth, and not all vibrations match with each other for a reading for that person.
Have to serve the diversity.
Yes. So, James, you keep talking about these days. You have said it a couple times. Go into that a little bit more. Do you think there is a cultural transition, here that word is again, going on? Do you think that these days are different than what days? Explain that a little bit.
Yes. Recently I have noticed a change. Not just in
about
my clients.
how recent? Can you...
Late 2010 to now.
Okay.
It got really crazy in 2012.
Yes, it did.
Just now, it's starting to relax.
Okay.
But it's an easy relax. There's still a lot of chaos. People are reeling from something invisible that is going on. I haven't pinpointed it exactly myself. I would hate to give theories, because theories about the ephemeral world and all that stuff is nice to read, but how does it apply to people living in the world today? It doesn't, unless you can comprehend it. But how it is affecting people. Some of the most closed-minded, skeptical, and literally stubborn people I ever met are waking up spontaneously. And boy, is it annoying to them. I laugh to death. But to them, when they give me a prophetic dream and then they scream about how it happened, it's like, well, welcome to the club. They don't want to hear that, but welcome to the club. We're waking up in camps, it seems. And people that, used to be at each other's throats about different opinions, especially about, like world events and politics, they're coming together now, at least in the channel of the status quo doesn't do it anymore.
Right. Okay.
And it's an uneasy topic because there's so much conflict about it in the media, and there's so much conflict about it. People talk, they just talk, at the water cooler, blah, blah, blah. There's no, heart investment in the conversation about where is it really leading.
Right.
And, I mean...
And there's fear there if they actually
step out of line.
I find that if people are talking about it, it's like there's enough fear if I mention where I think it might be going, that I don't even want to mention where it might be going. Oh, yeah. But waking up, I want to let the viewers know when we say the waking up, they're waking up to understand that there's more to life than a job.
Yes.
There's more to life than believing that you have to believe in one certain religion or government or entity or whatever that is. They're waking up that there is much more out there than just our body, and we're learning about energies, and science is learning about all sorts of stuff, and it's changing belief systems throughout the world, because we're finding that what we have been taught for generations is not always the truth. Yes. And that's hard for people. That's
the worst thing in the world.
Change.
I mean, that's the thing, is that change, that dichotomy, all that stuff, moving aside into this weird, I don't want to say weird, it isn't weird, it's a natural shift, this feminine kind of ideal of taking it all in and mulling it. I mean, that alone has been changing scientific advancement in the past 3 years more than it has in the past 30. I mean,
Right.
Just last month, a university in Japan grew a lamb out of an artificial womb. We have artificial wombs now. A science fiction idea.
Right. Right.
That they thought, oh, we'll never get it.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people, if you imagine it, or if it can be imagined, it is something that can be manifested.
Yes.
And we get that knowledge from the universe. We have all this knowledge. The problem being human is ego gets in the way, or we use it for a negative, some sort of, let's take it to war, because there's greed. War is greed, of course.
True.
And so, but what we're waking up to is the fact that we don't need to do this anymore. We don't need to do life how we've been doing it for generations and generations.
And it's the thing.
And so you're noticing that in your readings, and people are saying, this isn't as far out there as it used to be. You're not a gypsy on the road, taking people's money just so you can survive. There's an actual meaning to this. There's actual life in these cards, and people say to me, "How do you know that?" Well, it's not me knowing; it's the universe knowing and coming through, telling you. You already know this. We're just a conduit validating and helping you see it.
Yeah, we're cosmic telephones.
I like
telephones.
That. Yeah.
I mean, we're, you pick us up, we go. I mean, I don't know what's coming out of my mouth half the time. I'm sorry. If I did, I'd screw it up.
There you go.
Literally.
Yes.
If I knew, I would screw it up. I would translate it wrong. If it wasn't just on and flowing out, like literal metaphysical vomit.
Exactly.
Well, in a good way.
In a good way, yes.
It wouldn't work.
Many people ask me, they'll call me, they get a reading, and then, a month or even 2 months later, sometimes a week later, they'll say, "Oh, I'm back for another reading. Do you remember what you told me about?" And I go, "No, because I'm out of the way. I'm just letting it flow through, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I don't even,
That is exactly 100% of the reason why I love to do my readings and type them out. Because it's all there. I can remember it. I can pull it up. I can, get the catalog out. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why so many psychics have videotaped their sessions for years. Is so they have a baseline.
So they know, and in some readings you can remember, you'll remember a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a huge aha moment for you.
Yeah, for me, but for them, they might have just would have been, I remember the part about the duck. What duck?
Yeah, exactly. As an animal communicator, I would remember that.
Oh, see, yes. Worm farm.
Yeah. So the days, and I have noticed it too, people are changing nowadays. They're opening up more to this. And that's one of the reasons we're doing these segments, so that people can get a little deeper and get a grasp on, I am not weird.
Yes.
Telepathy's been going on since mankind, whenever we got here. A lot of all of this intuitions have been going on for millions of years. And people go, well, you haven't been here that long. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have.
I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah, get over that one. So everybody, it seems like that I talk to, they're opening up. They want to know more about it. And that is a good thing, because it is more natural to have a psychic ability. It's more natural to have an intuitive ability than not to, or than to shut it down. So people out there that are saying, oh, I'm starting to see things, or oh, I'm starting to hear things, we want them to know that, good, keep it going.
Good.
Don't let the public school system or the government
or
anybody tell you that is strange or you shouldn't do it.
Do not invest the energy it would take to block it anyway.
There you go.
Because it takes way more time to deny it than to just let it out. I mean, it's so much easier just to rely on the senses you've been given than learning math.
Yes.
And I'm talking like 2 + 2 stuff here. It's all there. And I mean, as a kid, I did use my intuition to solve math equations. I didn't write it out. I was just like, that's what it is. And it literally, I mean, I think that was built into the teacher's rubric. Show your work.
I got that too in algebra.
No, I can't do it more than once per problem.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's all
in us. Yeah, it's all in us. So everybody needs to remember that. Algebra, you had to have 5 steps, and I could do it in 3. I almost flunked algebra because I couldn't show it. But so awakening is a really good thing. So James, a lot of people, ask me about world events and stuff. Can you do a spread for, say, the president, Congress, the world, stock market, and get some answers? I mean, do people even ask that? But can you do that to get some answers?
Yes. In fact, those are probably the first readings you'll be doing. Anytime you pick any particular target, you will get what pops up, what's relatable to you through them. It's a direct channel, so even if it's about the world, you will get how you as a puzzle piece fit in and relate to what's going on. If there's a particular question, the tarot will never tell you it's exactly this way or exactly that way. They advise. They advise and they inform. And that's all they'll do. The actual options and making decisions and any willful action is totally yours.
Okay.
So you have to keep it in that context and in that within that box. If you're a person that has direct influence over the president, over the world, or over the stock market, yes, you will have a much greater framed reading about your actions and how it will be influenced. But if you're not, if you're a normal person and you're just kind of doing what you're doing, it will show you the trends in their activities and how it affects you.
Okay. So if I were to ask you, is the stock market going to crash?
Mm-hmm.
Would it tell me that if I was not directly involved in the crash?
Yes, it can.
It can.
It can do that. What it decides to show you is like the impact on you, even though you're not invested in it.
Okay.
It will affect the people who are, and there's an awful lot of economy and business and corporations involved in the market. So it can downturn you in some way or form. But that's why everyone freaks out when it crashes.
Sure.
Anyway,
so do people come to you, and this is another question, and people come to me with this, election years. Do you know who's going to be the president? And most of the time, I will get a hit, but I don't tell anybody.
Yes. Past 3 times I've been right.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
But I have not, I don't put that out there, I think, because
No.
Spirit tells me, it's really none of their business.
Exactly. It's like really, go out and vote or, jump around. Do your job in the civil, responsibility area.
Right.
But beyond knowing who it is and placing bets, which is why they ask.
That's why they ask, yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't go there either.
No.
If you want to place a bet, people,
No.
don't call. Go out on your
Yeah.
own. Use your own intuitive self and let the universe work for you, because we are not here to find gold for you.
Yeah, trust me. We'd all be lottery winners, but I have a feeling that it still wouldn't work as well.
Yeah. And we have to remember that money in the universal spirit looks at a penny and $1 million as
It's
both.
the same thing.
It's
Seriously, you nailed it.
It's the same thing.
It really does. In my experience, every time you ask for a certain amount, it could give you more sometimes, but it doesn't see a difference. It literally sees abundance as having enough to do, having enough to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And sometimes it's not what you think you need.
Exactly. But abundance is just that. And we have to get to that point where we realize that abundance means I have enough food in my stomach at this point. I have a roof over my head at this point. I have enough love. Because abundance can mean anything. It can mean love. It can mean security, So money-wise, if you have a penny in this hand, you have $1 million in this hand, it's the same to the universe.
Yep.
It's abundance. So
Yep.
good point. So.
point, I completely missed about abundance readings, but I mean, really, romance readings, abundance readings.
Aha.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
romance. Yeah, romance. Everybody comes with
Oh, yeah.
romance. Oh, man.
Loads.
They want romance right now.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right. They don't know what they. I always say to them, "Have you written down what you want?"
Yes.
Yeah, and they go, "Well, yeah."
I thought I did.
Kinda.
In
You
my
know,
brain.
but they don't. I said you have to be specific.
Yes.
You've got to be specific. I had a friend that asked for somebody who would love her,
Mm-hmm.
and how did she put this? Would love her, be there, and be supportive. Okay, so she got somebody who loves her, who is there for her, but supports his other family, not her. So the supportive aspect of, he's a very supportive person
Nice.
to somebody else
Nice.
because she didn't ask for her. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Very specific. You have to ask specific.
Mhm.
So, and I tell people that if you want to know your spirit guide's name, you don't say, "Do you know your name?" Because they're going to say yes. You're going to say, "Can you please tell me what your name is?" Yeah.
She did that so many times to me.
Yeah?
I swear to God. I just said, "That's it. Your name's Charlie." Okay.
Okay, your spirit guide? Yeah.
Yeah. I call her Charlie. This is it. She
Yeah.
doesn't
And they
care.
don't care. They don't care.
Don't give a damn.
Spirit guides don't care. You can call them, "Hey, you."
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine came to me because I knew he's Native American.
Mm.
And I had 3 Native American things on my altar where the Native American was transforming into an eagle.
Oh.
And
Eagles are- yeah.
3 eagles is his name.
There you go.
And we also found out that he's a really live person. He walked with the Nez Perce. He was a Nez Perce
Oh.
chief. And he actually walked the land where I'm living now. That's why they brought
Cool.
me there. So,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very cool. Is there anything else that you want to say to our viewers? We want them to know where they can get a hold of you again. So give them your Facebook, and then we'll give them about 30 seconds of commercial, maybe, of how they can reach you, what you do, offer any more advice to our viewers.
Well, the full gamut, if you're interested. It's at Readings and Company at Facebook. I do have a private email I give out from there. But I teach tarot. I teach many spiritual oriented philosophy and methodologies to get you started. It's not my goal to have you come to me every week. I want you up and out of the nest as soon as possible. Skills like tarot and divination are a step to other greater things. Easier, not harder things. Because if you can just get all the information straight out of the air, you got it. You nailed it. If you need help dealing with that, I have a lot of mediums who are not skilled that come to me. Again, they're about my age.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety sets that off. They start seeing stuff left and right. They can't control it. They think you're schizophrenic. No, you're anxious and you're letting it get away from you. Skills like that, things like that, I can help you with. But I do go for self-sufficiency. I get you out on your own to where you can help yourself and help others. We need more service in this world. More now than ever. And I mean, they've been saying that for the past 20 years, and as long as I've been reading metaphysical books, we need more service-oriented people out there in this field or any other field. Humanity needs to heal, and we need humanity to do that.
Thank you. I definitely agree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for people out there who are psychic and who do want to start their own service for people, remember that with the vibrations the way they are, whoever needs you is going to come to you.
Oh, yeah.
So there should be no competition. When we are at psychic fairs, whoever feels comfortable with us comes to us. There's no competition. There's 7 billion people on this planet. Come on, let's get over the competition.
Yeah.
Because nobody can handle that many clients.
Oh, man, no.
And it's all about service, helping people. And if you go into something like this with just money on your mind or greed, You're not going to be a good reader.
No.
The universe is going to slap you upside the head. You're
No.
going to fall off your
No.
pedestal. So go into it with love. Go into it with a good intent. Go into it with joy in your heart. Go into it with humor, because you're going to find that this type of life is very humorous when you start looking at it from our perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Life is a very fun thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful to have you. It was
Yeah.
a great interview.
Had a ball.
Oh, good. And we will be having you back on. So
Oh, yes.
to
Can't
all the
wait.
people out there, if you enjoyed listening to James, please get hold of him on Facebook and look for the next segment with him. It's going to be a ball, because we're going to roll with this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank
Cool.
you so much.
You're welcome.